Wow, Avengers Endgame was certainly a turbulent ride. It offered a slew of incredible action, as well as some heartfelt, tear-jerking moments. If you haven't seen the movie yet, then I recommend doing that before watching this video. Or, if you really don't care about spoilers and are just eager to know about what happens to everyone, then go ahead and keep watching. Welcome back to The Binger. In this video, we're going to be breaking down who survived Endgame, who didn't, and what this means for the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward. Things certainly have changed, so let's analyze what this means for everyone involved. This is everyone who's left after Avengers Endgame and who we lost. Iron Man. Let's start this video by discussing those that we've lost following Avengers Endgame. It was a heavy ordeal, but the Avengers managed to topple their foe and save the day once again. However, it wasn't without its casualties. Perhaps most notable on the list of lost heroes is Iron Man. The first ever MCU movie release, Iron Man's on-screen involvement dates back more than a decade. It was a fitting farewell for one of, if not the most important character in the entire series. Despite having a loving wife and a beautiful daughter by the time Endgame rolls around, Tony Stark still pulls the ultimate sacrifice and gives his own life to protect humanity. The way he goes out is heroic as well, using the Infinity Gauntlet to defeat Thanos, but ultimately perishing in the process. Those Infinity Stones are some tricky things, and Tony just couldn't withstand their power. He goes down fighting and will forever be remembered for his sacrifice. It was a real hero move by a top-notch superhero. He shall be missed. Black Widow. The other notable loss in Avengers Endgame is Natasha Romanoff, better known as Black Widow. Much like Stark, her demise came in heroic fashion as well. In the film, the Avengers go back in time to retrieve all of the Infinity Stones before Thanos can get a hold of them. Black Widow and Hawkeye are tasked with obtaining the Soul Stone, not knowing of the cost required to get it. If you'll recall Avengers Infinity War, the Soul Stone must be earned by sacrificing someone you love. Thanos begrudgingly tosses his daughter Gamora off a cliff in order to procure it for himself. This time around, Hawkeye and Black Widow are faced with an equally tough decision. They argue over who gets to be the hero, with Nat winning the debate and sacrificing herself just like Gamora. She falls into the abyss, never to be heard from again. But her sacrifice is what helps the Avengers obtain all the stones and reverse the snap. There are rumors of a standalone Black Widow movie in the works. While her demise might make it difficult to continue telling the story of the Black Widow, the movie can absolutely still happen because it's apparently an origin story. So Black Widow may not be involved in the main MCU storylines moving forward, but we may still get to see some awesome leg scissor flips in the not so distant future. Thanos. The tyrannical titan is no more. Not only do the Avengers defeat the big purple bully, but they do so on more than one occasion. The first fight happens shockingly quick, as Thanos gets his head chopped off within the first 10 minutes of the movie. However, that doesn't undo what he's already done. Years go by as the heroes move on with their lives, some for the better and some for the worse. Eventually, the band gets back together and decides that they must travel back in time to reverse the snap and restore humanity to its factory settings. Back in the past, Thanos is defeated yet again, this time by an Infinity Gauntlet snap from none other than Tony Stark. As mentioned earlier, the snap proves to be too powerful for Tony and takes his life. It also accomplishes what he set out to do though, which is eliminate Thanos and his army as well. The last we see of the big guy, he's sitting solemnly, distraught over a hard-fought defeat. Captain America. While Cap doesn't suffer the same untimely fate as his other Avengers originals, he almost certainly won't be involved with the group moving forward. At least Steve Rogers won't be, that is. You see, after reversing the snap and seemingly coming out victorious, Captain America takes it upon himself to go back and put the Infinity Stones back where they belong. You know, he's all about being honorable and doing the right thing, so it only makes sense that he'd take on the responsibility of putting things back in the right place. Nobody questions his decision. Nobody except for his lifelong friend and fellow thought-out hero, Bucky Barnes. Bucky and Cap share a moment, acknowledging that it'll be quite a while before the two see each other again. Then Cap disappears for good. After putting the Infinity Stones back, he returns to his original era so he can live a full life alongside the woman he loves Peggy. An elderly Steve Rogers then appears and explains his decision. He gives his Captain America shield over to Falcon, who will now assume the role. It'll be interesting to see if this new Captain America will serve the same type of leadership role for the Avengers. The group seemed content with Steve's decision, but only time will tell if the new Cap will operate in the same capacity. There are also no plans yet for any more standalone Captain America movies now that Chris Evans is done portraying the role. But the possibility isn't out of the question either, especially now that a new Cap exists. The Hulk. Avengers Endgame offered some massive character development for everyone's favorite big green rage monster. Bruce Banner finally figures out how to harness his abilities and can now think like Banner while acting like the Hulk. This is a massive development as the Hulk is no longer just an out-of-control smash machine. He now has the knowledge and cunning of the brilliant Bruce Banner to boot. In the same vein as the universal balance stuff that Thanos is always babbling about, Bruce's good news is not without some bad. In order to reverse the snap and restore half the universe's life, the Hulk does so by wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. Much like Iron Man, who attempted to use the stone's powers and couldn't survive it, Hulk has some issues as well. He doesn't quite perish, but it seriously messes up his entire arm, leaving it a burnt crisp. By the end of the movie, we see Hulk's arm is in a sling. There are no plans for any future standalone Hulk films, but Mark Ruffalo is expected to continue portraying the role in future MCU releases. Whether or not Hulk fully heals from his wounds is unclear. However, the fact that we now have a super strong and super smart monster to watch is pretty cool. Thor. Thor was not in his best shape at the beginning of Avengers Endgame. I say that in a figurative sense as well as a literal sense. Following the events of Infinity War, Thor and the remaining Asgardians set themselves up in a fishing town and live relatively low-key lives. Thor isn't doing so well. Clearly drinking too much, he's got a scrappy-looking beard and a gut that would make Homer Simpson proud. He's clearly let himself go, although I can already predict that audiences are gonna love Dad Bod Thor. He rejoins the team and helps them go back to reverse the snap. He also gets a nice heart-to-heart discussion with his mother, which definitely helps him get his life back together and refocus his efforts. He also gets his hammer, Mjolnir, which was originally destroyed by Hela in Thor Ragnarok. The movie ends with Thor appointing Valkyrie the Queen of Asgard, then leaving alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy as he and Peter Quill argue over who the leader of the group is. With the departure of Iron Man, Black Widow, and Captain America, most of the original Avengers are no longer in the picture. Having Thor join another group makes a lot of sense, and lines up a crossover between two of the funniest verticals in the MCU. Thor movies and Guardians of the Galaxy movies are both always jam-packed with big laughs, so a potential joint effort could be seriously hilarious. Hawkeye. Hawkeye had one of the more compelling narratives in Avengers Endgame. After suffering the loss of his family due to the snap, Clint can't handle his emotions. In fact, this is the very first scene of the movie. He loses it and goes on an itsy-bitsy killing spree, attempting to take out every villain that exists in the world. Natalya finds Clint in Asia and tries recruiting him for their mission to go back and reverse the snap. Clint, a broken man, asks her not to give him hope, as it'll only make things harder. In a heartfelt moment, she says sorry for not being able to help him before, but convinces him they have a shot to pull this off. Hawkeye is the first to test the new time travel suits. He goes back to his farm to see his family, but is yanked back to the present before he can do so. In the end, the team manages to reverse the snap and Clint's family is saved. We see them live happily ever after. It's still unknown if Hawkeye will continue as a part of the MCU or if he's a retired family man from here on out. Vision doesn't appear in Avengers Endgame, and the Mind Stone that originally lay at home in his forehead is brought back to the original location. It's safe to assume that Vision will not be rejoining the MCU anytime soon, as the events of Avengers Infinity War will likely remain permanent for this hero. Originally an artificial intelligence created by several parts of different Avengers, the Mind Stone, and Tony Stark's Jarvis technology, Vision was an instrumental part in defeating Ultron in the second Avengers installment. During Infinity War, Vision and Scarlet Witch's love for one another is put to the ultimate test, as Scarlet Witch has to destroy her husband, or rather the stone in his forehead. in order to save the rest of humanity. Her efforts are done in vain though when Thanos rewinds time and gets the stone anyway. During Endgame, Scarlet Witch has an epic showdown with the Purple Titan, telling him that he's the reason she's lost everything. He responds by letting her know that he doesn't even know who she is. Pretty harsh words which only make her angrier. In an incredible display of power, Wanda almost single-handedly defeats Thanos. She'll most likely continue to appear in future MCU releases, although her artificially created deceased husband probably doesn't make a return. Future releases. While the Infinity War storyline may be complete and Thanos may be defeated, that isn't the end for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are still plenty of more movies to come and a lot more bad guys that need to be stopped. Endgame did a superb job of reviving some seemingly lost heroes and setting up some important future releases. Heading into Endgame, we knew that something had to happen in order to bring Spider-Man back. He was wiped out by the snap at the end of Infinity War, but we also know that the next MCU release, which has already been filmed, is Spider-Man Far From Home. It stands to reason that Spider-Man would have to make a comeback one way or another in order for the timeline to make sense. We also get the return of some other notable heroes who will likely be getting their own standalone movies soon. Names like Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Ant-Man, and Captain Marvel have all had successful solo movies and are either back at full strength after being eliminated by the snap or still alive and well. It's safe to assume that all of these superheroes will continue doing their superhero thing in future MCU releases. Well, that's who's left and who isn't. How do you feel about Endgame? Did it meet your expectations or were you disappointed? Do you agree with Marvel's decision to let go of some of their oldest and most well-established characters? Sound off in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Before you go though, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, this has been The Binger.